Hey folks, Tito, Jeff Thitoff here with your Browns Blitz. Follow me on Twitter @ThitHappens. Lots to talk about today, and I'm going to warn you ahead of time. I might skew a little bit negative here, but it's the day before the draft. I will get more positive, I promise, on the day of the draft, but just right now today, I want to look at some of the, and I did this earlier with the Bengals Blitz too, where just talk about some of the more questionable draft picks that the Browns may have made in recent memory. I've been following the Browns for about 45 years, I guess it would be. And so if you go back beyond all of that, I know the modern draft, the way we do it now, 1967, is when that really started. But the Browns, so I don't know their whole history. I didn't pay that close attention to the whole history of the team. But I want to start with the same thing I started with the Bengals, and I talked about that though. 1999 draft. The Browns come in. And it's part of the rebirth of the Browns, if you will. And they took Tim Couch, number 1 overall, quarterback there. Number 2 overall was Donovan McNabb. And then Achilles Smith went third to the Bengals. That's a really good quarterback at 2 and some very big disappointments at 1 and 3. And what's interesting about those also, and you know this as a Browns fan, but who the Browns could have had if they don't take Tim Couch. First of all, they could have Donovan McNabb. That's there as well. Edgerrin James goes on to the Hall of Fame. He went 4. Ricky Williams went 5 to the Saints when they traded all their picks to Washington for that draft, and plus I think their first rounder and third rounder the following year to get Ricky Williams. Then you had Torrey Holt, should be a Hall of Famer after that. Champ Bailey, Hall of Famer after that. So there were 7 picks made right there, and 5 of them were really good. 2 were not, and they're both Ohio teams that took them. Later on in the draft, you had Dante Culpepper went. I know Culpepper had injury issues later on that cost him Miami, and there's a great story about how Miami took Culpepper. They could have had Drew Brees. Great story for Saints fans, not so great for Dolphins fans, but Culpepper was taken. Hayden McNown was a bust. He was one that was also taken later on in that first round there. But that's just some of the names of people that went around that time when the Browns took Tim Couch. Tim Couch did not work out, number 1 overall in 1999, and not all his fault. Not a great cast around him, not a great offensive line. He did get sacked quite a bit. Other ones that jump out to me, I'm not going to get on Trent Richardson, only because the Browns were able to flip him then to the Colts for something else. So it wasn't a total sunk cost. But anyway, Courtney Brown was a bad one in 2000. He injuries for him as well, though. Like that's the thing that's hard when you're talking about draft busts is how much do you factor injuries into it or supporting cast? David Carr for Houston, when the Texans took him, and then he got blasted like 70 sacks or some ridiculous number. Yeah, I can't put that all on him that he was shell-shocked and was never the same after that. Tim Couch, injuries, yes, but also offensive line was not good. He did go 22 and 37 in his time with the Browns, but Tim Couch, though, similar kind of thing is almost like with Courtney Brown as well. But those are some that are in there that I don't necessarily want to put it all on the player for that one. One they took that I remember was Mike Junkin, the linebacker. They took him in 1987 with the 5th pick overall. He was never worth a damn. He was somebody else who he got hurt. They had the strike his rookie year, which also stunted his growth a little bit, but that was a bad one. Justin Gilbert, 8 overall in 2014. That was a bad one as well. Gerard Warren, number 3 in 2001. He never worked out. Phil Taylor, number 21 back in 2011. He never worked out. It's too early to tell on people like Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Gabriel will be the higher one on the list as far as a bust goes, but because he picked in the 3rd round, but where you had Shedeur went much later in the draft, obviously. But the one that stands out to me, and I saw one on the list now, because everyone's got these lists out now they put out there with the biggest draft busts in history because of the fact that we are up upon here. The draft is coming up now. But one of the names I saw was Josh Gordon, and he was taken back in 2012 in the supplemental draft. He was so damn good when he was not doing drugs. Let's put it that way. He was really exciting. And although I can't, look, you can't forgive a substance problem, I don't think, the same way you could an injury or getting the heck beat out of you by a bad offensive line not doing anything for you. But when he was at that moment, that was the most exciting time for the Browns since they've come back, right? Now, I'm saying off the top of my head, this is not like a research thing I've thought about, but I'm trying to think that might be that time when Josh Gordon, the most exciting player they've had on the offensive side of the ball. I know Myles Garrett said some great things, so I'm not saying that I don't want to take away from what Myles Garrett's done. But as far as an offensive player, an offensive spark plug, I think Josh Gordon was the best one. It ended up costing him the number 39 pick in the following year's draft because it was a second-round supplemental draft pick. So it didn't, it wasn't like they gave up a ton to get him in Josh Gordon when he was healthy or when he was there. Let's put it that way. He certainly, I would not label him a bust. And that's the thing we look at it too. There's a difference between, I think, bust and disappointment. With disappointment, I also think, what if? What if that person didn't get hurt? What if that person stayed out of trouble? What if that person did not make a bad decision on this one time? Things like that. So bust to me, though, is somebody who is able to play, doesn't work at it. Jamarcus Russell, name comes to mind. I know it's not a Brown, but Jamarcus Russell, somebody like that I look at. I would consider that person a bust. I would consider Ryan Leaf a bust, but I would not necessarily consider Josh Gordon a bust. But I mentioned Ryan Leaf now, and I mentioned Jamarcus Russell, another guy who look, and this is hard. Like Ryan Leaf's high point in his NFL career was the day he got drafted. That was his high point. Same thing with Jamarcus Russell. Hi, good word used there. But like that was the peak. That was the highest they got. Todd Marinovich, same way for the Raiders. Funny we're mentioning all about quarterbacks here. And the one I'm talking about for the Browns, it was the biggest bust. And look, you can say Brady Quinn if you want to. Brady Quinn, he slipped in the draft. They got good value at the time. Didn't work out. Also, circumstances came into that one. But the one I think of is back to 2014 with the number 22 overall pick when the Browns took Johnny Manziel. Manziel ended up going 3-13 in his second year with the team, and that was his last year. But remember how cocky he was, and Browns fans seemed to enjoy it until the game started, until he started playing. It was good having a guy with swagger who I wanted to be a Brown, man. I wanted to come to the Browns, where I wanted to be. Baker Mayfield had kind of the same kind of thing, but Mayfield didn't have the troubles or the success either. Or I'm sorry, Manziel did not have the success that Mayfield had. Mayfield didn't have the troubles that Manziel had. But Manziel came in here so cocky, and from the start, from the time the game started, it did not look good. Didn't play well. He, did the whole money thing with the fingers and stuff like that. So anyway, Manziel to me is the biggest bust in my memory, in my lifetime of Browns football as far as first-round draft picks go, based on how hyped he was. I know they got him 22, but for me, that's the one that I look at and think that guy is the bust. All right, folks, draft comes up Thursday. I promise you the next Browns Blitz will be more positive. The Browns have got a chance to make some moves this draft. I think they could trade back. They've got the 2 first-round picks. They could accumulate more. They're not 2 first-round picks away from competing. They're still a couple years away. And I still contend, although it's not going to happen, they should explore trading Myles Garrett. Anyway, that's it for me, Jeff Thitoff. Follow me on Twitter. I am on, you can follow me at It Happens on Twitter. And this has been the Browns Daily Blitz on FanStream Sports.